lungili tasils el al luyam etiul gob singil el along ewal buil April 29 rarakara 2024 el al silsia kami tira CIP Cybersecurity and Technology mga mokra oversight hearing lobangela Mr. J. Anson ma adalra Ministry of Finance tia oversight hearing Mr. J. Anson now erak paskate alam bom introduce rakaw ma tirkalom dila kalmay di po ko ay salwasya ngartial present el Senator Vice Chairman ra committee Senator Salvador Telams Floor Leader ra Senate el Senator Cecilil Aldabel Senator Taps Sungino Senator Tabalwal Senator Pasilius ma Senator Ruiz Cabaw ngara klisi ka nga Senator Cuarte ma Senator Rudy ma President tra Senate Senator Hocons Paules ma Vice President Senator Garay Mariur ame joiner gidra uriuna lo ay se di paygoy dia may galego kaban solar el al no se emel mem kada abangan el al sils ak madengeng mal patoka karira committee material restra senators el kirela tel isura cyber security ma digital residency ma stablecoin ay kita ko ratril issues el bodo malas mel sadr el al sils ak madengeng amode kateme del smother rogoy modul diolingit lo asia real time e bod se edel mutel el kawkadong e bod sada igel bebira amlo da kals edel smart alway se go dia may galekong e Mr. Anson bod se emel introduce rakaw material adol omdila kalmi.
Yes, thank you very much, Senator, and good afternoon to all the senators and members of the committee. It's great to finally have a chance to come and have the discussion with you today and also answer the questions that I'm sure many of you have regarding the 3 initiatives that were mentioned. I'd like to introduce to my right, this is Ms. Lolina Ngiratrang. She's our Senior Immigration Officer in the Digital Residency Office. So on top of a lot of things that she does, because we're all dual-hatted, her primary function, she's the last step in approving every digital resident that comes into the program. So with her background as a senior immigration officer, she's very familiar with all of the different databases, programs, the people that are involved with making sure that we're getting only quality digital residents accepted into the program. To my left is Mr. Steve Rador. He is our, what is it that you do? No, just kidding. He is he's the jack of all trades. So he is I use him more as a project officer, so all of the conferences that we put together, he does all of the running around to do that. He goes to a lot of, both he and Loli go to a lot of blockchain events and different financial events. They both go and they attend anti-money laundering training and different training to track cybercrime in the blockchain to make sure that we're able to respond and react and report if anything happens in the fintech spaces. So he is a blockchain specialist by trade, very well knowledgeable, very well versed in blockchain. So I've learned a lot from him as much as he's probably learned from myself and Loli. So I look forward to your questions. We can start whenever you're ready.
Thank you for introducing the 2 colleagues, but can you just introduce yourself and what position you hold and who you report directly to?
Oh, yes, my apologies. So, yes, I am the director for the Digital Residency Office. I work for Minister Caleb Adui. He's the Minister of Finance. And I also have additional responsibilities for fintech projects, such as the Palau Stablecoin project that we completed the pilot for last November. and also cybersecurity. I oversee cybersecurity, and I function as the Chief Information Security Officer for the Ministry of Finance, while also advising the other ministries as necessary. So where Director Conrad Ale'el is the operations side, I handle the security side. So thank you.
Oh, thanks for that. I think that's a good segue for us to talk about our first topic, which is cybersecurity. And I want to just maybe give you an opportunity to just give us an update on what happened recently, the penetration of the so-called bad actors. And then if you can just give us a brief overview, and then I'll open the floor to any senators who would like to raise concerns about that particular issue.
Yes, thank you, Senator. Okay, so when I came on board with the Ministry of Finance in June of 2022, one of the things that was being looked at already was our cybersecurity posture for the federal government, also the state government. There was some concern with the private sector that we were able to protect our networks. So it took me a while. I had to adjust to the digital residency office and make sure that the program was online and that we were in compliance with the laws and regulations of Palau, and that the service provider was also following the operating agreement. And the operating agreement and the law, there are provisions for cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is all about protecting our data, and it's about protecting the privacy of our constituents and the privacy of, in the DRO's case, the digital residents. So for the digital residency office, we collect a lot of personal data from the digital residents to process the applications. There's biometrics with the facial recognition. They provide a copy of their government ID, and they provide selfies, which is another form of biometrics as part of the confirmation process. We do collect and we store copies of every digital residence application, but none of it's online. We keep it offline, cold storage. Everything's locked in a vault. There's no way for it to be accessed without a court order, and that's by law. So I wanted to make sure we're following the law and following the regulations and following the operating agreement. But during that time, I was also working with Director Ale'el and his team to start doing some assessments of where we were at as far as our cybersecurity posture. So over the last 10 years, Palau has had, I was able to find evidence of 16 different surveys that different organizations have conducted in Palau and provided recommendations for cybersecurity. This is including the IMF, the World Bank. There was I can't remember the exact name of the exercise with the US Marines. They actually sent a team to look at the Ministry of Finance and look at our networks, and they provided some additional recommendations. What we were missing was that next step, to take those recommendations and create a actionable program. So Director Ale'el did some of that. We've had budget for a while for the cloud backup system that was used during the ransomware attack. So your approval of that budget and giving us that budget to create that kind of an insurance plan was super helpful, and it paid dividends during the attack. So the systems were down for a total of 3 days. We took 2 extra days to go through all of the data that was in the in our cloud backup to make sure that the malware, the ransomware, did not get backed up into the cloud. Once we had that confirmation, we were able to turn everything on and go back into full production. There was an issue where we had to issue paper checks for payroll, but that's just because the bank processing of ACH would have taken another couple of days. People wouldn't have gotten paid until the following Monday. So we, instead of going through a whole weekend without your paycheck, we just went ahead and did the paper checks that could be deposited the same day at the bank. I got paid the same way. My check was deposited at the bank with a little bit of heartache, but no issues. The industry norm for a ransomware attack is anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months to 6 months to never recover. So the action that the Congress took, the whole government, it was a whole of government effort to set aside that budget for the cloud backup, really saved us, and it's attributed to your leadership and decisiveness to do that. So thank you.
Okay. May laka kakmulwaseng tiragal hackers amle penetrate tra system. Mokter tira amle sorin mala critical information. Mang kau kakmulwase because kada ngila information lo ara cloud dim la kate learn maigal information or other belaw. Sige damo lori.
So from what we saw during our analysis after the attack, they were not successful in taking the information from the finance system, our system that processes the payroll. We're not really sure why. It may be the size of the file. You know, it's 3 terabytes. So it's if you're familiar with, so your phones probably they hold what, maybe 32 gigabytes. So it's 10,000 times that much data. It probably would have taken them too long, so they just left it. What they did go after was some files that were on the computers that they were able to penetrate. We also believe that they were able to penetrate using phishing emails, where they sent emails to employees in the Ministry of Human Resources and the Ministry of Finance who clicked on those, and that clicking embedded the malware into the computers, and then the hackers, once they had access to the network, they started working their way to what's called the Active Directory. And once you get into the Active Directory, you're able to see the entire network and pick and choose what files you want, pick and choose where you want to put the malware, and then they can leave it there and then activate it at a time of their choosing.
Aulal open and mora. Gidil members wal address tel recent cyber attack ma gidil concerns regarding cybersecurity. Senators nga po.
Sulat Chair, Mr. Anson sulang tilal update. So, Chair, Loram Nola's statement, then you kind of left on that was so they were able to penetrate and they stay there. So they're able to activate it anytime. So, are they there, or were you successful? Alam mo mo din kasi they're there, or this time in Dalawang.
No, so the extra 2 days that we took to look through all of the files that were in the backup, they were not there. It was clean. Then once we saw it was clean, we activated the cloud backup and went back into full production.
By attacking financial systems, is this considered an attack on Palau that the United States would have to mobilize because they're responsible for our defense? Would that be, can that be defined as they're attacking Palau, so they have to mobilize their resources? Or what does it mean when they say the U.S. has full authority and responsibility for security and defense matters for Palau? Would this be considered one of those security aspects that the United States would have to do something about it?
So that, Senator, that's a great question, and that was my take. I went to the JCM in Honolulu last month, and that's what I suggested. to the JCM. So there's 5 domains of warfare: air, land, sea, space, and cyberspace. So cyberspace is one of those domains of warfare where you can get a lot of effects from a successful attack in cyberspace, but it isn't as visible as dropping a bomb from an airplane or a tank rolling through downtown Koror, right? They can infiltrate behind the scenes, go into your networks, and then wreak havoc, as they did with the Ministry of Finance. We were, it was a rough 2 days. We had a great plan. There's only 2 things you can do with a ransomware attack. Either you put a lot of technology in between your network and the outside so that people can't get in and you can detect if they're trying to get in, or you make a full backup so that if they do successfully come in and encrypt all of your data, you're like, all right, you can have it. I'm just going to go ahead and replace it. And this was the case with our ransomware attack. Again, it was very successful on the Ministry of Finance's side, on the Palau government side. We were the 3rd attack in a year. The first was Vanuatu. I don't know if you heard of their cyber attack in, I want to say, April of 2022. Their whole government was shut down. They had put in an e-government program construct, so everything was interconnected, and the ransomware attackers went in and encrypted everything. It took them 3 to 4 months to get everything back online. They were doing everything by paper, payroll, everything. We do a lot of things in Palau on paper, but I mean, they were back 20, 30 years ago, technology. After that was, I believe it was Tonga. They were attacked, but they have a very robust cybersecurity program. They have a computer, what is it? CSIRT, Computer Security Incident Response, Cybersecurity Incident Response Team that reacted to that. They were able to isolate the attack to just a small part of their government systems, and so they were able to recover pretty fast. And then we were the 3rd. Our ransomware attack was the 3rd one that I'm aware of so far.
Mr. Anson, kung koram notas cha JCM meeting, I was hoping kasi ngaramle, what was the U.S. response if kumle ask kasi tiang merit tel mura level era kasi we've been attacked, as opposed to what you said, a bomb. Let's say they get into the system, meron kong Tomalisial radar system rig the airport, and then the airplane crashed. I'm giving you scenarios. Would that be considered an attack against Palau that merits the United States of America to actually take action?
Those are the effects. So like what you're talking about is exactly that. Those are the effects of a cyber attack, where it's not obvious, but like you said, the radar stops working, or they just adjust it so that the plane thinks they're at 500 feet, but they're actually at 300 feet, and then they.
So what was United States' response when you told them about this financial infiltrate into our system? And are they going to do anything about it?
Yes, they opened an action item. So through the National Security Coordinator's office, they're working now with the U.S. Embassy to allocate resources to that. How I framed it at the JCM was the way the United States frames cyber attacks now. It's all about critical infrastructure. So in the United States, they have 16 critical infrastructure sectors. There's a slide in the packet that I sent over with the little hexagons. It's showing what I assessed as Palau's 15 critical infrastructure sectors. So in the US, they have nuclear, they have manufacturing, and a couple of others that we don't have here, but I replaced those with tourism and like our communications infrastructure, the transportation infrastructure is very important. And so those were our 15 critical infrastructure sectors. So the Compact of Free Association is all about the U.S. protecting our critical infrastructure. And so the financial services, those are absolutely one of the critical infrastructure sectors that we need protection. And so we requested that they help us out with those. The other two critical infrastructure sectors, well, the transportation sector. So one area is the seaport in Malakal. We only have one way to get fuel in and out of Palau. It's through that port. And there's a lot of technology built into the pumps and built into the computer systems that process fuel. There's a computer system on the crane that offloads 80% of Palau's food into the island. And so it's very easy to hack that and disable it. So I guess, so the fourth, we're actually the fourth. I forgot about Typhoon Mawar and the malware that they found in Guam, in the critical infrastructure in Guam. And that was all malware on operational technology that was infected into the cranes, like different systems in at the ports and the airports. So we have the seaport, which I believe is vulnerable. And if there's no seaport, you know, one of the things that makes Palau of strategic value is our position in the island chain, right? We're farthest to the west. So it gives partners the ability to refuel as far west as possible before actually entering into Southeast Asia. So if a threat actor were to deny the use of the harbor to pump fuel, it would have detrimental effects to our international partners to use Palau as that kind of, and the same with the airport. You know, there's a lot of technology at the airport, from the radars that you mentioned, Senator, to anything like the generators or the ability to get fuel all the way to the airport. There's a lot of different pumps and stuff and technology between here and there just to get the fuel all the way out there to refuel planes. The added effect of that is, you know, it would impact tourism again. If they shut down the airport, planes couldn't land, we would lose again 50% of our economy and the progress that we've made so far since the end of the pandemic to recover our industry.
Well, Senator Scampo.
My last point, given the importance of cybersecurity issue, Mr. Anson, I know, is it 2 years ago, Australia actually elevated this issue and it became a ministry. Since your current role nga ra cybersecurity information support tra the issue mara government below, would you recommend that we actually Congress actually legislate establish a separate maybe maybe similar to like Homeland Security, address a issue cybersecurity, climate change issues, maybe other issues of importance threat to security below? Is that something you would advise that the Congress look into?
That's a great question, Senator. So one of the things I looked at when I was looking at our cybersecurity posture was the current law. We do have in the Telecom Act a paragraph about cybersecurity, but it frames it more as online safety, which is part of being secure, but it's not really what cybersecurity is. Again, cybersecurity is about protecting critical infrastructure so that it's available to the government to provide services for our constituents. And so definitely the Telecom Act would need to be relooked and provisions in there added. I mean, it's something like not even the United States hasn't even passed a cybersecurity act because it's very complicated. and the technology is always changing. So it's like, how far in detail do you need to go before, 1 year later your law is obsolete because something else came in, like artificial intelligence or cloud security. But to your point, there is, the National Security Coordinator's Office does a lot of that with different international partners. Australia has a, I can't remember the exact name of their new ministry that you mentioned. The United States stood up the Department of Homeland Security after the September 11 attacks to focus more on crosstalk and things. Palau, we have a very, right now we have a relatively small government network. There's 2,000 federal government, national government employees total, around 2,000. Of those 2,000, maybe 500 are on some form of a network, whether it's standalone or bring your own device or an actual government issued device. So the burden of providing the cybersecurity probably doesn't warrant like a whole nother separate office. But as we move into more of an e-government construct and more of putting more and more of the network and our services online and making it more available to the public, then something more robust and more capable would probably be needed. I hope that answers your question.
Senator Talams.
Sila Chairman, alungin litasin si AJ. I want to go back to the Ministry of Finance. What improvements are being taken to security, cyber security protocols in order to prevent the attack in the future? Are you working with the U.S.? As you mentioned, you attend the last JCA meeting and their concern also. Cyber attacker pela.
Yes, thank you, Senator. That's a very, very good question. So without going into too much detail, because I know it's being recorded, the one thing we've done is, when we moved to the cloud, we stayed there. We haven't come back, and right now there's no plan to clean and reinstall everything on the on-premise equipment, the equipment that's actually physically located in the Ministry of Finance. Because once we took it, there was concern because we're single-threaded out with the fiber optic cable. But even if we lost that and we lost our finance systems again, Plan B is to fly to Guam and do all the processing anyways, regardless. So it didn't make sense to go through the effort of restoring equipment that's still vulnerable. When we moved to the cloud, we're in full production. We've had payroll process. There's been no impact on the government from being in the cloud. In fact, it's probably going to be more cost effective to just stay there because we don't have to replace any more equipment. The backup is already in the cloud. There's all of our data is replicated naturally throughout cloud infrastructure. So it just makes sense to stay there. And it's so I think the price tag is around $200,000 just to have the backup. It's about the same to have full production and the backup in the cloud. So it's probably going to save the government some money in the long run.
So let's say one more question or ability of Ministry of Finance in your office. Ngani ako ora capability ngani ako warning sign malubeng kung amne mister ngi mangnoringa cyber attack.
So that's one of the things we've asked for assistance with. So there's there's 6 cybersecurity functions that you need to have a complete program. We have 2 of those. We have the last 2, which is react to an attack and then recover, which is what we did. The other 4 deal with detecting attempts at cyber attacks, so you can stop it before it happens, detect, protect, identify what kind of attack it is, and then defeat it before it happens. So we don't have those other 4. It's very costly. We are not budgeted for it, but it's something that we're looking at currently. So that's what we asked the U.S. for assistance looking at that. So there is a request for procurement currently in progress where we need a technical vulnerability assessment of our network to really determine what we need. What we want to avoid is some vendor coming and selling us something that they'll convince us we need it, but we don't know if we really do because we don't have a good handle on our network. Some of the things we did see, and so we knew something was going to happen, but we just didn't know what. Because without the extra technology to really detect and be able to analyze the network activity, but so starting, I want to say 3-4 years ago, there was a ransomware attack successful on one of the servers, I think in the tax office. If you've heard of that, that was kind of the justification to ask for the money to do the cloud backup. And so since then, we've had the plan, like if it ever happens again, we'll be ready. And the plan worked. But then six months before this ransomware attack, we saw a lot more activity against the Ministry of Finance. There was a attack on it's a Discord server, it's a social media server that we use to communicate with digital residents about like the programs and things of that nature. That was successfully compromised for about 3 hours. Once we saw what was going on, we were able to reset everything and regain control. Very minor impact, but we were getting that attention. Then we started seeing more reconnaissance activity by threat actors against our firewalls in the perimeter, where they were trying to log in to the firewall and guess the password, but unsuccessfully. So we took some action to stop them from being able to do that. But the phishing attacks, that's something that you have to prepare for it with training. You have to let people know what to look for and not to click. Because once you click on a link or click on a document and that malware is installed in your computer, without those extra 4 levels of technology and cybersecurity, those extra other 4 functions, you're not going to detect it.
Sulaje, disado presur cell requested gidemora US, will help gida tagida cyber security. Level lang amlamo major defense site blue American. They should be able to help us. They are the government gidel. Civil help gidma. They need to come pursue your request to the more US government. So let the chair.
Senator Udima.
Sulange Chairman Ramasawi. Militasil je Mr. J. Anson. Batal Adam. Chairman, wala daw mo dakpray technical details mo expertise sa kaura. Question na ge Mr. J. Anson existence office na kaw authority na kaw. It's a domestic CV you own a company dealing with cybersecurity and stuff. So that's for profit company, right? Okay. Number 2, director digital residency. So I got the authority in add-ons and digital residency of which initial understanding ako sa mga digital residency. But it looks like you're adding up a lot of responsibilities pertaining to security on top of the digital residency. A question na ka saying, I got do this and other answer. I can by authority of Ministry of Finance or other by contract, or how did you end up getting all of these responsibilities and get a security of the
Thank you for your question, Senator. Yes, the additional is in my contract to look at cybersecurity and also oversee fintech projects for the Ministry of Finance.
Okay, say the contractor ko saying Ministry of Finance adi dimlehar ka directly for specific purposes mo sharing in mga chairman na committee I guess specific tasks sa mga ano mo the digital residency. Number 2, ila sa sumo ko the digital residency ka currently reside at Blue Belao. At ako reside at Blue Ambrigel oversee the digital residency at Blue Belao. Are you directing this remotely or on island?
So currently, I split my time between Palau and the U.S. I'm currently spending more time in the U.S., but I'm able to direct both the office and these efforts fairly seamlessly. A lot of the agencies that I work with for both the digital residency office and now with the cybersecurity efforts, they're in the U.S. So when it's nighttime here in Palau, I'm working on the issues there, and vice versa. I make all my meetings and provide updates on time and at any scheduling conflicts.
So does that mean when you're off island, you can access the computer Ministry of Finance? Do you have a direct exclusive access to the system digital residency identity?
Oh, so for the digital residency program, yes. So it's a database in the cloud. So that's how we access it. We don't have anything physically located in Palau.
On the conditions of cybersecurity finance, do you have direct access and more information or other finance? I got details.
Oh, well, there's really not much to access. I work with Director Alel. We meet 2 or 3 times a week, more frequently lately after the cyber attack. But we don't really have a program to manage per se, if that makes sense.
Okay. Chairman, based on experience of Mr. Anson, I worked with a state agency, and they hired an outside consultant, a computer expert, and then they ended up on control a code system or two. So they were beholden to them, so they had to pay a monthly fee. And those were contracts we didn't see on that state level. Tell scenarios were vague and not clear. So directly to Chairman, I think we should have some more clarity. Security, for example, tell contractor can be concurrent with the term, transcend beyond the term of presidency, how many years or what are the conditions of this? Again, it doesn't directly relate to my security of Lurvelo.
Yes, thank you, Senator. So I'm on a 2-year, I don't know the exact name of the contract. So I'm a government employee, but I'm not like fully vested, I guess. So it's every 2 years. In fact, the contract is up for renewal. And I don't have any plans of going anywhere if the administration changes.
Yeah, with that said, Mr. J. Anson, for security purposes,
Yes.
kita so I think with your expertise on security, you have to do a succession plan on security, even to secure yourself. Maadal mong, change. Something might happen. What do? You shut down office and leave everybody hanging. Say you got risk like we can see right now. Those could happen. Next direct risk more young saying self contractor saying direct help committee to clarify. Because you keep getting this additional tasks, much sensitive. For example, a stablecoin. It becomes a pilot project. Out of midstream in the Q12, magiging mo concern always namang. Again, it's not politics and stuff, it's about security. It's about the constitutional roles, the transparency. Tuling Tagalo say to help our committee, help our Republic of Belau, we need to shed more light through an open door policy, sunshine clause, and more Tagaro willing. It affects everybody. So, domestic internet, you talked about the unbanked, the other tarvestry, the Muramasang. You come now touch other blue below and kind of using it to prop up this pilot stable coin. I think to be fair, I think you should involve everybody. The more transparency, say that on ticket, Chairman, Mr. Anson. Maybe I'll clarify more of these concerns. Help him. You can provide them in writing. So long, Mr. Anson.
Yes, no, thank you for your comments, and your concerns are absolutely valid. Yes, we're a lot of the government positions we're one deep in critical roles. Again, in the packet, like towards the end, I proposed 8 strategic initiatives around building up exactly what you mentioned, the succession, right? So it's not just tied to one person. It's again, a whole of government approach to cybersecurity. And really, so I'm doing cybersecurity currently just for the Ministry of Finance. Each ministry should have their own cybersecurity expert, and then then we would all form kind of a council, a cybersecurity council that would, ideally report to this body, this committee, our findings, recommendations, things of that nature. Then, as in terms of the like the Stablecoin project and other Fintech projects that are going to arise, it's just anyone can be a project manager, and so. I had background with blockchain. We've added Stephen now. He understands the ones and zeros of blockchain technology and fintech. So, eventually he can fill in that role. Ms. Lowly has been to a lot of training. So we are building that bench for the future, because I'm in my 50s. I don't plan to work forever. I'd like to go do something else. Fishing is great here. So, I joke, but, you're absolutely right. It is about building the next level of, there are several students in Australia and I believe Taiwan who are majoring in cybersecurity. They're doing their graduate degrees currently. And so we've already reached out to them. I've reached out to them personally and let them know that, hey, there's a demand signal for your education, for your skills. So don't discount Palau as an option after you graduate. To come, you're going to be able to continue to improve and work with technology. It's not as cutting edge, but you have an opportunity to bring that cutting edge technology to Palau and implement it the right way. So, yes, no, absolutely great points.
Sula, Mr. Anson, now atol mo me di po the unrecorded the recognized presence ra President ra Senate, Senator Hocons Paules, ma Senate Vice President Senator Karay Mario. Molmol me Senator Rudim.
Sulang Chairman Bangsa. Mr. Anson, I got state lang. I think with your expertise, ma concern gira la safety ra other velaw. Sele kada mo sigara magagaladan young people to succeed mo o part of telurion. But first you have to set the infrastructure transparently. What I'm saying, lang dapat someone to create a system that's faulty or hire other mo so they crash with it. Lang kung sele a Minister of Yang MPII, from South ITC, he brought in some experts. Imadek mong mal expensive ay gal ITC may gal cloud ma. A security the expert bluntly said, saying it's too expensive, so you need to outsource it. Ma cellular recording ngale expert mula saying request for proposal for the right expertise to come up transparently and help probably public or velaw. Sige dawan. Elasel nganya tara staff ragalulong wala ko saying man somil audit talaga stablecoin. Ni say seriously say mlanya adala balu. The request to request rin say na makita timing rin lang na coincide ra FTX ma Binance ma issue ra United States. Ingge the IMF from not the statement rin so you need to do regulations before you do anything. So that's all. I think the outright a blunt statement was you have to create transparency ra regulations. Okay. Tiga concern Mr. Anson. Black sharing in more FIC ma auditors on may request rin. If you're going to do the pilot project through a friend at somebody that met at the airport, of course, I got political terms a change. Kami kom set of presidents, so the next one can invite 10 more friends to do 10 pilot projects. That was the question. A technology, marwa blockchain, that's a science unto itself. It's a tool. Tell a corporate veil, ang digital veil. Mandre kal bring mark question was saying all my digital residents are sorry ra anonymity, sorry invisible. See, I get part of more security questions and silver domestic advertisement RNS ID. And I advertise say, well, you can get your digital ID and make care around 6 months. It's in writing, digital form. I get more contradict makta calling it saying boom clear up official how. Be very transparent and expose mga other below the game, especially other below the game. Malakad ngania dual system and low spare government to create a digital system and there sang. Sulang Mr. Anson. Sulang Chairman.
No, thank you very much, Senator. I absolutely agree with you. So one of again, like from the start, I created frameworks for governance, risk, and compliance for the Digital Residency Office to make sure that we're following the law, the Digital Residency Act, and also following what's in the operating agreement with the service provider. One of the things we monitor very closely is what is on the website, and anytime something comes up that is it's a business, so they're trying to market and they're going to push to the edge of what they can say until somebody goes and reels them back in. So that is my job, and I work with them constantly. I probably talk to the CEO of Cryptic Labs 3 to 5 times a week, including weekends, whenever I get a call or I see something myself. There are some issues with the act itself that we're working with lawyers to find out how we can amend it. There's provisions for name change in the act. That's something that we can't even begin to understand how we would process that. Even the service provider doesn't know how they could do that legally. Because it takes a court and court orders and things of that we don't have the capability in the Digital Residency Office. The other one is the digital banking. I think it was intended as like a digital finance service. We're not sure why that language is in there, but again, I'm not a banker. I'm not even trying to open a digital bank while I'm in the Digital Residency Office. So over time, we've been looking at different things, and there's things that we want to tweak and improve, or just take out because it's not going to work. And it goes back to the technology is changing, laws are changing, but there's laws in place that are misaligned, and so we're doing our due diligence because it's the law of the land to try and make things work, but sometimes it just doesn't. So we accept defeat and say, well, we need to change the law, and that's where we would come to you, the Senate and the entire Congress for help.
Floor Leader. Umregel po, Senator Corte.
Sulat Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Anson ng Kamaterial. Staff for kami. Kotak man nga sulem mas guk lemega ta me apira madala senete kata adul gilal tial tora cyber security maigal guk program associated del mora officer ka. Matlaw tutel al bolngani se gidul ko ngil understanding ra leadership especially albira kalulaw. Almost coming to the same page lo mangela executive branch raigel kuk initiative tira tora a digital space leng ngari gigi del wam baby ram dungul kora security concerns ma risk that we need to be aware of as policymakers. Makote sokal mutul reverter morsel issue cyber security. No mention we were fortunate to subscribe to a cloud account. Most of if not all of our payroll data were being stored at the cloud. So a question nga akmlasing wara nga kadaksal madangalitial concept malubeng teletela ay kagidele cloud backup infrastructure. How much of security is there to assure us that our backed up data are protected compared to if we were just storing our data in our own servers or space that we invest on?
That's an excellent question, Senator. And so going back to the strategic initiatives that I proposed, one of those is a control called third-party risk management, where we need people to look at the contracts when they buy technology to make sure that the service provider, the vendor, is baking in cybersecurity with what they're providing us. Because if you don't make them, believe it or not, they're not going to do it because it costs them extra money. In my experience, you have to have someone actually looking for and ensuring that there's a cybersecurity clause in there that lays out the terms and conditions for cybersecurity that the service provider has to do. And so my approach and methodology for a cybersecurity program for Palau is based on, it's called the NIST Cybersecurity Framework. NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. They have several different types of frameworks with different complexity. But the bottom line is it's about selecting the controls that we can put into policies, not laws, because laws are harder to change, but at the policy level, decide at the ministry level, this is what we're going to do to protect our networks. And once it's policy, we're going to commit budget and resources and people against it. A lot of that can be outsourced, but again, when we outsource it, we have to make sure that those third-party vendors are going to do that for us. So with the cloud, so going back to the ransomware attack, the first two things I asked, one, what is our reporting requirement? Who do we need to let know that this is going on? And so I didn't know that this, I knew they were standing up this committee. I didn't know where it was. Did we have to report this to the committee, et cetera? So that's the reporting and crosstalk is something that we need to absolutely work on. It goes back to what I said, like each ministry should have a cybersecurity expert that understands their ministry's operations. What was really impressive about this ransomware attack I've seen a bunch of ransomware attacks. I've gone in and helped clean up after ransomware attacks. But Director Oletl and his team, they understand what the Ministry of Finance does and how important the data was, what data was important, and he was able to make decisions before the attack that ensured we were able to quickly recover. And so that's like kudos to him and his team for knowing, you know, what was important, and they were able to prioritize bringing systems back online to restore operations very quickly and get the National Treasury able to process the next payroll on time. But again, it goes back to the question you had about the cloud. Like, where are we at now with the cloud? We have to we're looking at the contract for that cloud service provider. There were some things that we didn't like during the recovery period. You know, so there's different tiers to recovery from a cloud backup. Tier 3 is 24 hours. So we should have been up and operational in 24 hours, in my expert opinion. So the fact that it took 3 days, I have a problem with that. And so we're going back and looking at the contract to make sure that it outlines specifically, you know, if we need to activate the backup, you're going to have people working 24/7 until we're back up, right? Or you're going to have it back up in 24 hours. You're going to, like, a lot of things that have to be spelled out, or the service provider is going to do what they have to do to meet the terms of the contract in the most cost-effective way for them, not necessarily for us.
Sula Chair ulak may mention siya kung dasang lamota mal gire la akablement rebelal look into formulating our cybersecurity protocols. El lobangela ako dasang lamungil gire la trigay gidel adadal gukmara igay gidel area ra tora cybersecurity ma atogora tegidel technology aklaw tutelel bodo ba release el walgo centralize el procedure bekel department el multira qargi store de irartil en cloud tutelele ay gal bekel department tangani de irar gaqarus el customer service ma gaqarus el ad that we as a government need to protect them, especially el guk adbor area health ay gel guk information ada adral atora health ma tabor area finance ay ga tora aududirar adama ay gel bekel information el mogang gesterar adama businesses akamna singirel el moringi segi del walgor assurance certic na se ay gal se langagablemente ng mai store properly mendigal abol subject el mora arway gay del cyber attacks leng the way we do business these days I'm not more real kam na mo dependent tertial el technology maus paalela unless we secure say del walgora infrastructure with the certain protocols and make sure assure the information madera tira kamnasing that's something that we need as a government to put up a policy make sure ngani say del walgora uniform el protocol that we follow every time we Segidal happens el attack, cyber attack, payroll. The first thing that was concern for me especially, I get account adal wal under ICH in armarical. Like I was really worried that these hackers might divert armaric deposits and more some kind of secret account momringer gida truck ar adalu saududire segidia that was basically a concern maulmak akble inquiry gire tegi dele backup through cloud le sum segidia best more secure the backup system. I think that's where we got lesser cost and get look into investing more on those kind of security systems. I think so. I'll mention for our consideration. So.
Yes, thank you, Senator, and I absolutely agree. The best way to approach cybersecurity is what's known as an enterprise approach, where everyone is on the same level and the same playing field and looking at the same requirements. When you have an organization that has multiple levels of vulnerability management, multiple levels of asset management, or they're not sharing what they're seeing. So for all I know, the Ministry of Health could have been getting cyber attacked or attempts against their infrastructure, but we're not cross-talking. So the other thing we did after the ransomware attack, we took everything that we saw, our initial analysis, and we shared it with all of the ministries. We shared it with PNCC, like anyone who could have been possibly affected by this. Like, hey, look for this and see if you are having the same issues. So that was kind of the direction we want to start going. As far as I don't know, part of the adjusting the cybersecurity portions of the Telecom Act could speak to that. Mandating crosstalk between the ministries. But we really need to level set on three things. One is user awareness training. This is the first organization I've worked in where it's not mandatory to at least do some type of cybersecurity awareness training once a year, so that you know what to look for with phishing emails. What is it called? Smishing, like the text messages. That's becoming more prevalent as a means of getting malware onto your cell phone so that they can track your data and get into your private files that way. The other thing is asset management. So all of the computers that are issued by the government should be tracked. That way you know what your attack surface looks like. What types of computers do you have out there? What type of vulnerabilities do those computers have? Someone should be managing that. And then vulnerability management, on your phones, every now and then you'll get a thing like update your software. It's the same thing. Every piece of software, every piece of hardware on the network is at some point going to reach a time where you have to update it. And so that works best if it's centrally managed and someone's looking and they're working with all the different vendors that provide us our computers and our software and saying, hey, is there a new update that we need to put on our computers? And then they can push it out centrally. And it's even easier if we're in the cloud because everything is already managed in a central location.
Okay, I think we do acknowledge that we need to address the infrastructure gaps, capacity gaps, as well as communication gaps. And with that, also education, public education as well. With that, I turn over our mara Senator Cuarte.
Sulangya Chair, I think my comment was actually brought up by Senator Olivelle, the floor leader. And then you mentioned something about PNCC. And for people who are ignorant about this whole subject, the role that all the telecommunications may play in terms of firewalls and all of that to at least screen some of this stuff out. And then, Chair, maraming comment na lang in discussion with the Vice President this morning, because there's kind of an emergency coordinating bill that's being drafted to include emergencies such as climate change. I always wondered when this attack took place, how do we respond to that emergency threat? So yes, there is cybersecurity that might actually come down from the Office of the National Security to coordinate and maybe with a committee like yours, but when emergency does happen, and let's say
this happens to be in the Ministry of Finance where there's an expert there. The Ministry of Health, who knows? Now that they're doing electronic medical records, who knows what they're seeing right now? So I think this is a discussion that needs to be done across sectors, and not just the government, but also maybe at some point to involve the private sector, because some of the critical infrastructure services might be located in the private sector, such as food security. Hindi ko kadim na comment lang ako sa tiale Silvaria emergency lagi na dal address lo say how to respond dal motel emergency. Senator Sangabadilo, so what's the difference sa sumang ngariya tanggal maratia mal tortiado? What level does it become a national emergency? Maktiduli sa I think we need to look at it. And if you have any comment, then mula tayo.
Yes, Senator, thank you. Those are excellent comments. Again, it's all about the effects of the cyber attack. You know, what is, so there's the technological effect of that in the case of the ransomware attack, where they encrypted our data, we couldn't use it. But the second and third order effects of that, it made it appear that one, the U.S., who we just extended the Compact of Free Association with, wasn't helping us protect our critical infrastructure. The second is the Palau government, we're not able to provide services, payroll services to the citizens of Palau. Those were the effects that the cyber attackers wanted to have with the ransomware attack, beyond disabling and encrypting the data. But because of the efforts of the government, you know, the Congress, the President's office, and Director Alel's team in implementing that cloud backup, they were not successful in having those effects. Again, the industry norm, if we had gone the way of a lot of other organizations, the Ministry of Finance would probably still be processing everything with paper right now. But because we had the foresight to allocate budget and resources to that backup, we were able to recover quickly. But we're not out of and just like you said, the hospital, so that's the Ministry of Finance. I don't know if the Ministry of Health has a cloud backup. I don't know if, so like going and looking at those things is important. Those are part of the strategic initiatives that I recommended. And it's really getting into the governance, risk, and compliance of each and every ministry to see, you know, what is important, what data is important to them. Identify it. It's called, you identify your crown jewel. So the Ministry of Finance's financial management information system in the National Treasury was our crown jewel. So we put all of the resources that we were given around protecting it, and then in the event that all of the protections weren't effective enough, we had the cloud backup where we could restore services in a timely manner, and it worked.
Sulang, you know, to Senator Cortez' point and the floor leader, it's we should bring up that you represent the Ministry of Finance. We should remind the viewers and everybody. And what you're doing, all the initiatives are just for the Ministry of Finance, to protect the Ministry of Finance. But there's also another initiative under the Bureau of Communications that Stalin Pedro and his colleagues are also working on comprehensive cybersecurity. And so I think hopefully that will address what we're talking about, but I think the main point is we need to collaborate our efforts, and we need to communicate and share information as well. I think that's key to this process. And reactions from you before I turn over the...
Yes, Senator. No, and so I am working with Mr. Pedro and helping him develop those, and they're along the lines of the strategic initiatives that are in that packet. Also, using the NIST cybersecurity framework, it is cookie cutter that we can take whatever we're doing in the Ministry of Finance and share it and have the rest of the ministries and any other government agency at that same standard. So it's really about that enterprise approach and having a standardization that anyone can identify a cyber attack or a cyber threat, and we can share it, and everyone knows what the other agency or ministry is talking about, and then look at our systems to make sure we're not vulnerable to the same issues. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Senator Sungino.
Sulay Chairman, malungi tasil se Mr. Anson, welcome home. You know, mal makatatal da kada saka dire ko ra mo ilang sul ko ber belam ko ra. Madu urgidra yal to ra cyber security kada dim la high school ka marale dim nakata kaswa sa kalmutul. Ko tiyan lami malungi lang dun mesa ko. Ako te ko din ko tane bring up niya ko mga aktilo badali ngari ko ra el sungu aktilo badali mutul mending. Akora masada igal tetora finance. It's about finance, ma security na finance. This is the collaboration ng lulukor nga chairman lo banggela igal different agencies. Tra little toward ra atokol educate ra a public. Lo mo ra elementary maral mirabap. So ang nga mlewan ra victim tial diknilo ala message sa tete ko din kutang la email raw.
Yes, I sent that to you.
Okay, so akilo sige nga nga the cyber challenges checklist ma protocol al to ra nga nga alsele. The checklist how to be safe, how to secure your information marugol to koy. And akum da sa sige del elevator ngil mo sa nga nga outreach el constantly nga ra medial educate ra public. Leng dia kabulula nga igalo ra tial dengwa ito ko rakamar there other abulul ngarian maklol adel takal understand that tora takal sarungil understand takal to kakamar albul matitul related mo ragal information malubet magigal ngal dire kal mering tira related mo ragal hindi one install security updates sa mga naklela you know termidar other lo mes ragal to ko iso akum dasing it needs to be a comprehensive effort to try educate the general public on Agel do's and don'ts sa cellphone raw. What needs to be done, protect yourself from information ka. If we put effort to train other more responsible tial information and that's the first security. Knowledge is security. So mo aware masing on the agil morning in this will cost gidal affect over 10 as a little more tiang. Ako na din sa to outreach because ako na to background at sports ending I think it's close to tele la dungul a level el mora to school and that's where knowledge is born and then we can change the system as we leng besel to mergid and then of course ang maring lergidring it's constantly changing every day and the tech industry is just moving in a scale but again basics security needs to be done accordingly. Mong sabi ko ra mo matingil kung sabi may sure kasi are we public, are they informed on the little issues simple wallet say tsunami warning nagamatingil mo kurmur tebedul so they do the exercises in school. Tiyan na mo gina the treating nga raway gaya the level ng ablul adam lat murte gaya the cyber world and if we're not doing that akum dasang we're in trouble constantly ka murte gaya so sige ako na tim na kami tanagi.
Yes, thanks, Senator, and it's a very, very valid point. Even in the United States, they're dealing with the elderly. They're having a lot of problems. A lot of these scams, like on the phone, are targeted at them. I've been in post offices where an elderly gentleman will walk in and say, I received a text message to pick up my package. And they're like, no, that's a scam. You don't have a package here. So then they'll turn around and leave. But the bad thing is they already clicked on whatever that malware is, and it's in their phone. So there's some efforts now in the United States to target the user awareness, the cybersecurity awareness training at certain demographics to make sure that they're not as vulnerable. The material that I sent you for training, that can easily be translated into Palauan and tweaked so that people can understand it. And it's really just, it comes down to two things. One, think before you click. And then if you don't know who the person is that's sending you something, don't click on it. Just delete it. Don't forward it to someone and say, hey, look at this, because then they might click on it. Just delete it or ignore it. There's a lot of, there's some technology out there now. We use it in the Ministry of Finance to help defeat a lot of the phishing emails. So a lot of the spam mail that comes in just goes to, it gets filtered out and goes to a separate junk folder, and don't even go in there and check it. Just leave it alone. But to your point with students, this definitely needs to be taught in the schools. I agree with that. Especially some of the initiatives I saw in the draft of the national ICT policy. It's a lot of stuff for the Ministry of Education to get technology into the schools to aid with education. And we're potentially giving children access to the internet. And one thing that is in the Telecom Act is online safety, especially protecting children from the bad stuff that's out there on the internet. And one of the ways we can combat that is through this cybersecurity awareness training, starting with the students in the schools. So absolutely agree. They got to exercise their mind as well as their athletic ability. So very good point.
Oy, medical mal milmora. Di na kal parents say kal Palau Teachers Associations because ay nga nga kal school ro. Simple dengwa nga nga technology dengwa sa ML lakra dengwa nga ligem timera sel temeleng ospera dengwa. Those things, little things, but it helps parental regulator tell dengwa leng they don't really understand that tiyan ulul masanga nga ligil. And that's a lot of information in this system. Bayrangal kamo madu, our parents are role and then they need to understand the situation. So, that's there needs to be more effort in working with the other agencies to try to collaborate with the security system. Sulang
There is a draft cybercrime bill. It's with the president's attorneys now. They're going through and reviewing that. But if it is submitted, that type of feedback so that we can adjust it. It was authored by Director Alel, and I had maybe 1% of checking it, but there's a lot of good language in there that's geared towards protecting our children and safe online conduct. So, thank you.
Senator Basilius.
So lang chairman akari kati kalangara cyber security, in fact cyber security mal utabangal legere talo mesar ngil sa hol kamal mentandi Mr. J. Anson nun udere mrel anga ongara ara digital residency mong akari ka kiral tal babier al mlamel kirela atoera digital mailing ma digital sakal post office ri kita rapulur bela amla announce ra digital mailing address meng kora kari kawase ngaringi koram la muktub al do ul kirel tial digital residency lo spera post office rapulur bela ul lol durok lak lokli. The reason why I'm asking that question is, are we looking into the post office as to be a mail hub for digital residency?
Thank you, Senator, for your question. So the short answer is yes. part of bringing the ancillary services online, because the concept is to offer Palau's government services to the digital residents without the digital resident having to come to Palau. And so working with the Postmaster General, that's one of the things we've been looking at is the mail forwarding service, where Palau has a U.S. zip-coded post office. We can forward mail for a fee to different countries, digital residents in different countries who wouldn't otherwise be able to order from, say, Amazon or whatever US-based website or online store. So that was the idea there. And a matter of fact, I'm going on Wednesday. We're going to go and do a site survey to see there's some equipment requirements and some training for the people actually processing the mail. You know, how to affix the labels, what packages to look for to get them forwarded, setting up of the workspace. There's some, they're going to need labels, a lot more labels than they have now. So you need printers and computers. They need to be able to access the database that our service provider has established with all of the people that have subscribed for the service. So this is something that it's in pretty high demand. People like the idea of having the mailing address and the mail forwarding service in Palau. The post office has the ability now to assign digital PO boxes to the digital residents. So instead of just all that mail coming to one place, we can better manage it and track it. And then the fee. So right now it's $248 to sign up to be a digital resident. Of that $248, $100 goes to the National Treasury. And we track that. Those money transfers, they happen weekly. The ancillary services for the mailing service, it's another $100. And then I think there's another fee. I have to go back and look at the schedule, but it's potential revenue stream for Palau that we can use to improve critical infrastructure, improve government services, things of that nature. And it diversifies the economy with those different revenue streams. So to date, we've brought in, we've processed, how many, 24,000? We've processed 23,700 applications. So at $100 per application, it's over $2 million. Plus we've provided the option for a 5 and 10 year subscription. Every year they still go through KYC and AML again, but they can prepay in advance. So to date we've collected $3.2 million. So we've processed 23,700 applications. We have another maybe 3,000 in the queue to be processed, and we're averaging about 100 applications a day. So it is a service that we're providing that there is a demand for, and we'll continue to track it and report accordingly.
Continue. So there is a understanding or a contract between the post office here in Palau and the digital residency office?
No, not yet, Senator. So part of the process is once we figure out what the solution design is going to look like to develop the memorandum of understanding. We do have the mailing service regulation approved. All of our regulations are posted on our webpage on the government website. But right now that's part of the site survey on Wednesday is to okay, the mechanics of it, like mail comes in, where does it go? Where are you going to store it? How are you going to keep it separate? How do you inspect it so there's no drugs or other illicit material inside? All of that, and then we'll write a standard operating procedure to lay that all out.
Hindi amso lang Chairman, kung dasan ating nga formation stage ra development ra for our post office to become a hub kirela digital residency. Timely concern the reason why Gugere in our post office is affiliated with US. As we know, katakorati concern. I have a little bit of concern, but I'm pretty sure it can be addressed. The RMCL para formation stage I think US is paying our mail service. So, malso ko makatukok mo uspera our postal office to send mail outside of the rim of the United States, and I require to be addressed by. I'm not sure if it's a UPU, United States Postal Union. Mga kilometer sa just to be aware of that. Kamasulang.
Sula Basilius, tiagida sele digital residency regulation pertaining to post office mail services. El blel signer nga minister last year May 17. Ang approver niya Director Gid Surang Whips Jr. July 10 last year 2023. Al selseng mal nga niya igel detail information al girela igel schedule of fees ma. Sula.
Sula Chairman nakti address ngin required to have a MOU labang kala post office.
Thank you. Ang kay gidle kildraw law mura Senator Cuarte.
Sula Chair, Economora Cell Digital Residency, Mr. Anson. There's a kind of a seat that came lubangya like told me. Yung retail digital nomads. Yung wasen si Ilmer Vela, wekel 270 days, tax free, depending on passport. So I calculate that's 9 months. Makoradi was saying 9 months, and then they have to get out there. SL Mutelmen 9 months. Yeah, ongelung kumda SL the board sel mal al sa yidel act. Sentela 11-14. Yung adim lakal intention or sa yidel la al al sel sa yidel lam. Hindi ako nilo sa mil karang yung masabela ngal digital residence el make it up for that long.
Yeah, that's a very good question, Senator. And so the idea behind that was to appeal to digital nomads. So digital nomads, they stay in one part of the world for 6 months or more, and then so for example, Croatia, they'll stay there from April to September. And then once it starts getting cold, they're looking for somewhere warm to go. A lot of them will go to Thailand or Indonesia, Bali, and hang out there through the winter. And then they go back to Croatia. And what they're looking for is the ability to continue working remotely with whatever jobs or businesses they have. But they don't really, like, they don't own a house, they don't settle down anywhere. They consider themselves global travelers. And there's an estimated 9 million digital nomads throughout the world who do that. So this was an attempt to appeal to them. Hey, come in and stay in Palau when it's cold in Croatia or in Europe for 6 months. The current visa on arrival allows for 90 days. So we offered this through amending the immigration regulation to allow digital residents. They can keep extending another 30 days beyond that initial 90 days for 180 days. An additional 180 days beyond the 90 days for a total of 270 days.
No, I do understand that. I guess the concern is the the bill, if I'm not mistaken. One of the strongest debate was that, and I think the reason why it passed is because there was this underlying belief that they were not going to come and stay here for that long. So I'm just mentioning that because I think that's the regulation probably does not fit the intent of the actual bill. Yes, Senator, and that's something that we're aware of currently, and we're going to go back and look, maybe repeal the change back to what it was, so they're only allowed the 90 days that of visa on arrival. But again, the intent wasn't for them to come, like, to establish like a permanent residency or anything towards citizenship, like we see in other countries with the what is it called, residency or citizenship through investment or anything like that. This was, again, trying to accommodate the digital nomad lifestyle, or they come here for 6 months and then go somewhere else, maybe never come back to Palau again. But we just wanted to give that option. It was something that we thought also would help attract tourists, to help boost the tourist industry. With the extended stay, if they're staying in a hotel for a long period of time, or an Airbnb for a long period of time, and then they can get out and see more of Palau. One of the other things we had discussed was the price of airline tickets at the time was very high. So if you can come and stay in Palau for longer than a week or two, it may be more cost. They may see it as more cost beneficial to them if they had the option to come and stay and really experience Palau, do more diving. For diving, for example, if you're a scuba diver, you get to Palau. If you're only here for 2 weeks, you better get your dives in that first week and a half, because after that you got to fly and you can't dive. Where a lot of digital nomads who enjoy that activity would like to stay longer, so they can get out and see the different things that Palau has to offer.
Yakam sulang di wal blaktak kalwase tourist albervelans kill 9 months with free, and swal extending extended 2 times, but 90 days, but they need to specify their reasons for extension. 90 days tourist visa with 2 extensions, but they must have a good reason for staying. So that's the current law. With that, Senator Rudim Elbo, Vice President Mario.
Mr. Mangsawe, Mr. Chair Anson, the statement of Senator Quartel Lumsadra bill. Similar to the debate, the limit of immigration, what affect immigration or living per make care of quasi conventional labor law immigration. The statement of concern, Chairman Mr. J. Anson. Ang narinig ada sa clip para kau, Mr. J. Anson, interview. A statement talaga at to the public YouTube channel. While intention was someone increase our number of digital residents to the point man mo to mo sa influence la secure a politics la blur belaw. Since someone expound rin la saying siya yamal intention commune create a digital nomads and more influence la politics la mo sense policy senda kalbol ko niya a conflict rin or more issue of security il daklo dengan other belaw rogoy.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, I remember the interview and I think I said that in the context that they could influence what ancillary services were in demand to add to the law, because a lot of them, so there was a lot of questions about citizenship through investment. Are we going to go? Is Palau ever going to go in that direction, or residency through citizenship, or residency through investment or the ability to purchase property and own it, not just the 50 and 99 yearly. So the thing is, if you have 1 million digital residents, and that's, help me with my math, $100 million a year, there is a risk that they can mobilize and, try to influence politics and the way things are in Palau. Yes, I agree. That was my statement. Yeah.
Mr. Anson, but the one other than sending in me, I'm the red flag again. And I say something like you were advocating for that last time. Was saying like tell scheme or digital residency. I think it goes on a bonus. So you get points for getting more to get additional subscribers, right? Tell digital residency. I say if you get more, if you recommend they subscribe, somebody gets some points for the digital. It's a scheme. It's a rewarding scheme. Okay, the chairman last to Mr. J. Anson sell block pagit karngyara sell kawal lom tera government traveler belau under contract legi modangling advocate to the same populate the digital residency to the point where essence so more control more influence a national policy. Kasi sumunda karala. I think that's a red flag. Why got cybersecurity expert? I think that should be a warning sign and more other role. And that means a lack of transparency. I think you need to come clean. Also, you need to tell the Republic of Palau saying, so we'll create a digital residency to the point and more one party system, the influence of politics of Palau. So create a dual system, a local residential with a wall, a digital wall. I'll street digital nomads with digital residents. Mr. Anson, I don't know if you're aware of it. And so, the plan is to create a smart city or a smart government, and whereas it control our local services of government, lives are at remotely. Again, Mr. Chairman, I about the share. Again, kawa sumo ka kobat title as a security for the Republic. I think those interests malubay gilang disclosure eyes wide open into the system, and that's why the advocate or the rubber stamp something that we don't know about the Bolotura sovereignty reveal. So lang.
No, I thank you very much. Those are very valid comments, Senator, and it is not my intent to advocate that type of influence. I think when I was doing the interview, it was more to, I said it more to the effect of this is something that could happen. And again, the digital residency program is only 2 years old. There's a lot of things that we're looking at and tweaking in addition to the name change. So there's things that even more mature residency programs like the e-residency in Estonia, they had to look at, and they're walking back a lot of their services and things that they were offering initially. And that's part of this process of coming together and letting each other know that there's some risks involved, and I need to be more careful when I'm doing these interviews not to project that appearance that I'm advocating anything of that sort. That was not my intent. Thank you, Senator.
Mr. Johnson, assure again, let me say it again. Mamakita mo dromes rabigel belal morsel walot tratter imolburu daka klaw the gira leadership rabur belawmang. Please be careful and bomb articulate more clearly. Assure again makita the place of trust on you. And then like we sell our lives, my sovereignty, then somebody markets, makes a profit out of our sovereignty, island republic of Belau. Sulak.
I absolutely agree. Thank you, Senator.
Sulak, Vice President Mario.
Sulak Chairman Emmanuel Selve si Anson. Aktira ka di mo malalagyan mo lang tial la adri ka manemrin la debate ni olbira lol kem le mokte garnya ose tianga digital residential bolo spiring adal ngarai krel welau il mosab il ngarai gel ngaringi mergo ngaringi trade ay gay gidel ruwa crypto ngarang ay gay gidel activities dimla ka waseng merbelau maktiyo aktirikal di mo menteri berkelad lo waseng gidel ngaring dirikal ngaringi alla lo waseng ay gay gidel ula resident tirgel merbelau turism dirikal gidel lol taut leseral madung ito ase tirga mal dia kal mera al sugum temer belat mul tirak laigel ngaringi ula immigration ay gay yam nara al dur chalol trar telul das magi dirikal mo bangela arudi marbeklado ngit lo ase al sugum moringi a chance raul das mo lusum kamunigay telmer olbira kululaw bol sebedel ngodi alla ambol sebel ala orgumil gut mukli din dia kal sebel dingar segi de mergo rulit tange edi assume lo sia olbira kulula di makongigang ako mas hindi ka tawrol waisi magi diolngi tlo ase telgi bel morsel guk maral tretelel tel lurior al sugum tial digital residency am sen nok te kanya ase tumosib il ngarigel ngaringileng salo ga to ase ngaringi atelal milyon ngara asinal digal sebil trade ay ga ulmang kudore ednya mosib edel matri trade de lola baudo dimla kalapin magi diolngi tlo ase bol sebil gutmuk lagi gide al sum ngaringi an sodal momlot alla edabora process mal sum olbi lamu ko ngi bol sebil mrurngi dia asal do mesay gal advertiser kami kom laptop tercala enti kom di malmol mrengi maktir kal mabagel igel kansun gel atial digital box la post office kom da sendiri kal ko ratia gisal wase kadam karang ay gigidul das maktul ngitul wase al sugum ngaringi al deswil momlot ar te maray gigidul molgoy el bol sebedel motrura process batangi iya la al mo akamo data ay gel guk mom das ding girel mga ngir olbira kululaw ako di duli sa igiduleng tingatal direkal mo ega direkal mortal cryptocurrency igom po sem pilot direkal dia kalal adorais rengi maktirekal lo nitro sa igidul morul bol sibel mo tru bol tirak lalula betal blur belaw bol sibel mo to malsu mengarnya ay bol sibel mo mesrengi adu debate rengi lo setiang sibel mo toy malubenda bol la ko bo moruri maktit mo gigi de akora tale servektu yak notrimio del mevektu kumsada tegi de cyber security mengtila kumdas en cloud issue kumdas en direkal elakaw tela sa kumtera Ministry of Finance egal bek ministry sa kumdas en direkal ading aringan adrikal white tela gidel mengaringi meng akumdas en amaral gidel lo dakal dadro ku ilo mengela Bureau of Communication na masabedal maral mesay gagi del ula a cyber security rablo bela kumesra kwa metatrial gup maurol bangela saibal kira la cyber security ra gagi del tublol belum kumesay gagi del kuk bela sa bedal mo takta gagi del rogu lobis lo gagi lo kwarte ma private sector bol sa bedal ngaringi kumesra gagi del rogu lomte galbek ministry sil ngara cyber security ela ok mo segidel mele hapen ma finance ok mo ngal toy mo koram la organize segidel ade emsa telil mo subelo role wa yatel emergency tel NEC segidel time ko di activate ngit mo kuldim trigidel gula de mo mesin sa tiakadam grad address ni mong agimra ngas sole mo segidel ukto kora cyber security ding gire del mo mesrengi arang lela government rogir ma ablur bela rogir o mesrengi addressing chairman
Sula Vice Presidente ang ngaringa bill black circulator ngira last November talgibel kora speak to this very issue mo maktub ra cyber security office ngaringa CISO ma advisory committee direct ma mo sharing ile korkaw Mr. Emelo mesrengi ko maskita feedback because I plan to introduce it in our next session. Hold off response ra kung sa President ra Senate lang mo medalos issue concern ringi sa MD one time. Senate President.
Malungil odo song merga Anson, nice to have you back after so many years. I remember when you left, you were a young boy, and now you are a gentleman and big man now. Adi, akti sokal mo mutal follow up ay gel tingala Senator Cuartema amariudleng. In the beginning, when we work on this law, matokol mler kamamo saying nobody will stay in Palau. They will just use the card and stay outside of Palau. Ilang siya masado lo siyang namuring at elil mekir belaw direkal mo question na immigration lo siyang selmel gurdio labay gel ID card and sel status certificate wayable overlap wayable sisir sel luula immigration lo siya when you come to Palang mga status ka mo soisbe engaral channel obom truringi mang mo concern na gamam direkal lakman nga sulem den gatengekal mesaykal so many documents in my front. Katengekal mesrogui, which is we never been provided this. We never been provided this. It's the first time we meet you, which is very interesting to hear you discuss this, all of these things. I'm sure kamamroguya katangamal mesaykal document. Lengkatengedal mo awe masaudo. Madion tiga say at sum rule of regulation malubeng any activities please stay within the law. Esel sum rula regulation rumi malubeng activities rumi modernal ngara al sel al creator a digital residency en akimo question mo toka question ablul mergma me kama madiangal information el gimodengel Saba amlongir adara blum ang akti soal motatso sele Stablecoin program. Are you aware of that? Are you doing something to that program?
Yes, Senator. I'm the project lead for the Palau side for the Stablecoin pilot or Stablecoin project.
And it amlehar gal mamrur sigid program.
It's in my contract to oversee Fintech projects.
You have a contract to oversee the project?
Yes, with the Ministry of Finance.
Ikaw ma minister amle saying ringi?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hindi kan sunod ma malendi kala al creator tigid program. Ela ko mospera obisra financial mamrur tigid program ang direkal kan sunod mergma mal المرولة لا لين usually أو يجاكيد البرنامج أمورنا لا الرولي يمرقا finance أمو implement رنيم أكيد رجال question أرسل المينستر finance أم لا هيرا لا سين رقم contract لكور قال مرورا program which is إن ديال لا authorize رنيل مرورا program لين رجال كان سرنا أرسل finance المرورا program unauthorized by law سير ترى كان سرنا مقدر رجال رنيل بمو مسرنيل واسي a contract lem saying ringing ngogi wala ang atanggok titulong lem kauma a Minister of Finance e kom ruringi man direkal kansul ng mamal lumrulala al deka authorization ng kaul mo saying ra contract emrura o tigil programmer al sila finance.
Sorry, Senator. It's an employment contract for the director of the Digital Residency Office with additional duties to oversee fintech projects and cybersecurity. So it's not like I'm coming with a business as a vendor. I'm an employee of the Ministry of Finance, and it's just one of the additional duties that I have.
Okay, hindi al timing direkal nga contractor ka ma minister as a director of digital residency.
It's all in the same document. The same contract document that I signed to become an employee of the ministry.
So each one contract can cover this?
Yes, sir.
Cover the digital residency and cover a Stablecoin?
Yes.
One contract to cover all of those, eh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mo question ko mara arang ulbi rat aureol mara sila financial luya dia ka klabatanger ko mam logi wala eng brul way kay gidulur mo agi direkal mo asegal al suma contractor ka ngara digital residency e dio sisul time ko amrula ko pebira aureol المو أبنجل تجدين قرا لقد سال المال تراود السوامة تلتلي لوريو إلى سل غني أقل من ذي قال جريل سل إلى تقدر stable going كم لو mention سل واسين ويال ورنيا غرا السل قرا مول قرا ودو دمبان غران دي أقل من ذي قال واسين تقدر stable going أمو create رابان المو overseer تاجي.
So, Senator, if I believe there's been a lot of misunderstanding about the stablecoin project, and it's probably the breakdown in communication has caused this misunderstanding. So, what we were doing with the stablecoin project was looking at an e-payment system. So there's no law for any type of governing any type of e-payment system in Palau. So Alipay is used in Palau, PayPal is used in Palau. The fees that are collected from those payment systems go to the owners of those companies. So our intent was not to, we're not creating cryptocurrency. We're not making a Palau Bitcoin or anything like that. We're just leveraging the technology of the blockchain for the foundation of the system. So in the process of being able to digitize hard currency, fiat currency, to move it through an electronic system, it goes through that change where it becomes, in essence, a cryptocurrency, but it's a stable coin, which means it's backed up 1-for-1 with a US dollar. And so the technology behind it is the same as you use for Bitcoin or any of these other thousands of cryptocurrencies that people have created. But we're just we're taking advantage of the security and the transparency of the blockchain as the potential basis for an e-government payment system. It's a payment system, it's not a currency. Again, I came into the Ministry of Finance in June of 2022, kind of in the middle of the project. And my understanding of the intent behind it was never to create a Palau's currency, it was to create a system for e-payments. And to have that system, you have to have a bank account that holds that reserve cash. So every dollar that's in circulation digitally, there's $1 in currency in the bank backing it up. If that makes sense.
Sengral banggal lulus pernya ministel yotop da igelu dodal. Oh, you know the Ripple
yes,
company
so
that
Ripple
have a deal with the finance minister to.
So Ripple offered to sponsor a pilot program
For this.
So for the stablecoin. So they have a technology called a central bank digital currency platform, and they wanted to see if it worked. We wanted to see if it would make sense as an e-government payment system.
So that the money was used is Ripple money.
The money that was used is Ripple's money. They provided a grant so that we could actually move currency through the system and see if it worked. And what we found from that was not only it worked, it became more convenient for people to make payments at the stores, or if you, for example, there was, so I was in the U.S. and we had a funeral in the Ministry of Finance. So normally my sister will come and give Loli money for my badak. Instead, I just sent her 20 stablecoin to her wallet, and then she gave $20 for my.
And the money was given to minister to run that.
It was deposited into the National Treasury.
So it went through the National Treasury, and minister give out the money from the National Treasury.
So the way it was structured was for the pilot, because we wanted to have maximum control over how it was running, the National Treasury minted the stablecoin. The money stayed in the National Treasury account. It didn't move because that was backing up what we were putting into circulation. So
like when they spend money at Suranglen Sons, the money from Suranglen Sons will come to the finance and the minister pay that out?
yes. Yes, in principle, yes.
Okay. Maria, so I'll follow up. I got a question, no? Come on.
Follow up pagale takal President la Senate Mr. Anson. Take the statement through the Binance website. Binance ang galing CC na mukul puso na marigel. Masa Mr. J. Anson proudly announced was a Tomlam successfully mint the Palau stablecoin. Kung contradict na sense. So on this public reporting, complete intentional ka and deliberately mint the Palau stablecoin to use it as a currency. Spare government traveler belaw. What was the authority
I have no authority, Senator, and we didn't mint a stablecoin as a currency. So if that's how it was reported. There were a lot of news reports. There's a official report that we put together for the stablecoin pilot that lays out all of our findings, what we were trying to do, what we were trying to prove, and it was really only about seeing if the technology would work. My understanding is the use of cryptocurrency, or the potential use for cryptocurrency, has been in the public discussion for quite some time. So what we were trying to do was study it and get a better idea of its capabilities. Is it secure? Can you launder money with it? Is it contradictory to Palau's laws for finance and things of that nature? And so those are things that we looked at. And it was for a limited time. It was a limited controlled group of volunteers. And we finished the study and published our report.
Mr. Anson, I went and asked the FIC, authority, and they said that they were surprised that they were not aware of your project. The government aware. So basically, assume the process of elimination is a private project, or more a private bali, and more a proprietary system of people for profit bali, no spare national government. Ikaw lo ba contract the government, the Ministry of Finance, ang Binance website, and they issue a statement to sa Palau Congress, and the explicit link to approve ng SCA authority. Not yan, a Binance. So can you imagine disappointment to mga ulbirak lulaw, mabulur belaw, masangal belaw, o spare government belaw trying to create maybe a profit line or some self-serving mechanism and create a currency of belaw against the US dollar, against the Palau government. You know, unmak nga kakim na ask for audit. Kawa sumaka kadmit sa kawa contract the government, you're an agent of the government. Something's wrong. Mang sel sumaka to the tweet opposite lang tol mo lang, then where's the truth? So I think chairman akong nasa giran demand sell contractor ka in writing sell originally signed. Please submit to my president of the Senate committee. Because we need to sit, I think, because self-cooked moments, you've gone beyond the scope of authority. Hotel admit the send authority kan marunong. The Constitution dakal pas coastal authority. FYI, alas the administration, ministra milok, marada milok, because they try to do it. It's a mga regulation na FIC. So again, FYI, FIC, FIU aware tiyang maktre kam lo aware tila say. Kami in partnership with FIC and FIU. More questionable integrity la Republic of Palau as well. So kami kumara inside them submit control ay gang. So again, as a security officer, Mr. Anson, I think you need to clarify and clean up partiyan and dakalungila the other bela the nganya doubts over our government. So lang.
No, thank you, Senator, and the points are well taken. Again, the intent behind the project was just, it was research. That was it. We were researching the validity and the viability of that blockchain technology to, as an e-government payment system.
Mr. Really quickly, again, nakawa cyber security team, so I think you do forecast the security, identify risks. So again, I'm back to the more original question. Also, makakawa contract expound the agreement talaga sa fintech manager, so you can do whatever you want with it, quote unquote. That means any agent the government, legal experiment or aklok la government, and government staff, and government property, government employees. Sige di agi moments nyo saying maybe I'm not breach lang aliuma a separation of government to my private interest. Sige da sok abang mo dangali, Mr. Anson, I think tiang am na breach la ako ka security government as kung mo private siya ba practice la government la other bela ro.
I understand. Thank you.
Vice President Mario.
Oy, aktirikal ko radi masubir sel garila presidente legal was egal transactions sung mora tumora kombali and then it sendra bil mora finance pay. Maktiogel was kami komnela setial treasury ablur bela rokulu do motmur alsel ogi wala etop logi wala. Maike yakari ke legal was setial digital tegil program kami. Dia kala algirel. Makarangi ko mo spera financial am sangle labru bela mru rai kai gidel activities kami. Ako adi gori sa gidel ang kora dire kal dia kan understand wasi. Kom karanga finance mru tiang lo spera kle labru bela imot mo klay kai gidel lureriul dia ka la dorai sa kami. Sir di concern nga ke chairman sulang.
Sula, Vice President. Elbo Senator Basilius, elbo floor leader, elbo Vice Chair talam.
So lang Chair, Director Anson, nakatirak le serbek tu eti already mla. Akum tasu mla momrek sa ikita mulgoring mong research. Mel ako me sa kom armor tra phase 1. Why say? Am I correct? Phase 2? May LL phase 2 and sa PML ko rati makikokal smoothing because I have questions ra tial kuk tele la progress ra minting ay gidale coin sa mura blur belaw, but if you can tell us ma phase 2 kuk kang ramo activity girela phase 2.
Yes, thank you, Senator. So where phase 1 was to research and test that the technology worked, phase 2 is that next step, which the huge part of it is the legality and the law. So there's a draft bill that the President's office is working on. At some point they'll introduce it. I don't know when, but it was really looking at who the stakeholders would be throughout both the private and public sectors of Palau, who would have an interest in the Stablecoin project, and the big part of that is the Congress and making the laws that are required. One thing we identified was that there are no laws for any payment system. So again, I go back to Alipay and PayPal, which have been used in Palau forever, and we're just trying to do that, but make it a government payment system. And in the process of doing that, because we're using blockchain technology, a lot of the like the articles that I'm not familiar with the exact article on the Binance website. Again, there were so many because a lot of people were excited about this project, but at the base of it, the foundation of it was we were just seeing if the technology worked and if it was a possibility to use it as a payment system for Palau as we move more to e-government, things of that nature. And as a security professional, blockchain, you can't, you can hack it, but the way it's structured is there's records duplicated in many different locations. It's a lot more cost effective, and it's a lot more secure from a money laundering standpoint. You can't hide your cryptocurrency. You can't hide this type of. So if you try to move $1 million using a stable coin, you're going to get caught. The minute you put your money into the system, we're tracking it, we're tracing it, and this is. I probably didn't meet with FIC and FIU as much after the pilot phase because we were still trying to figure out what a proposed bill would look like based on the research results from phase 1 and then what we were finding in phase 2. I'm currently drafting the report for phase 2, which will lay out what we have. I'm trying to get it out before my next report from the Digital Residency Office, which is due every August. Thank you.
Okay, sulame Google so ngarang responsibility rafia with your Lobangala Ministry of Finance. Are you working with Fiat, or is there any collaboration with Fiat? Yeah. So is it a money?
So
what is fiat?
The fiat currency. Oh, so that's the term for like hard currency, cash. So the fiat will be kept has to be kept in a bank account. So let's say that you have $1,000 of stablecoin in circulation in your payment system. You have to have $1,000 in fiat in the bank backing that digital currency that's circulating. Yes.
So it's dissolving the digital currency to become a cash or money.
Yes.
Okay. So say you'll go to a central bank.
Yes.
Okay.
So in the case of the stablecoin pilot, the grant money that was provided by Ripple was in the National Treasury. When we issued the stablecoin out to the different volunteers and they spent it, we would track to the cent like how much was in circulation, and we had to make sure that that amount was in the bank account. Once the vendor, we had 3 vendors. It was Sarangel & Sons, the Penthouse Hotel and Restaurant, and King's. So once the money was spent, and then King said, okay, we have received this much stablecoin, we want to redeem it for US dollars for fiat. We verified it in the blockchain in the system, and then we issued a check. Well, at first it was check and then electronic transfer after that. And then that amount was subtracted from both the ecosystem of electronic currency of stablecoin and from the balance in the bank.
And the responsibility of Ripple. Are there a ledger company, or they keep track with the coins, or can you explain that?
Yes, Senator. So what Ripple does, they do a lot of technological innovation around the blockchain, and what their product is it's a central bank digital currency. So Plow, we don't have a central bank, we don't have our own. We're using the U.S. dollar, so we couldn't use a lot of the features that they're offering. We were just using the very basic feature of being able to move money in the blockchain and then track it, trace it. We could see down to like whose wallet money left from, where it went. We weren't down to like spending trends and things of that nature. You can't see that, but you can definitely see who was moving what. And so in terms of transparency and security, the blockchain is really good for that.
So Ripple is a wallet company in some sort. They're the one who create wallets.
The wallet was from a different company. Ripple has their own wallet, but for our pilot, we needed something very, very basic because we weren't trading any crypto or exchanging or anything like that. We just wanted to be able to see your balance and then be able to pay. So created a QR code, you scan it, put in the amount you want to pay.
So they're more like a ledger company.
They're more like yes, they have a private and a public ledger.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking, you mentioned that Ministry of Finance mints the coin for the Republic of Palau. And basically, they don't have the capacity to mint the coins. So basically, they rely on outside company to mint the coins for them. Am I correct?
For the, you're partly correct, Senator. So for the pilot, we kept it small so it was manageable. And so we were able to, like when they mint, it's like they minted 1,000 stablecoin at a time, not just a little, or was it maybe, I think 10,000 at a time. And then Ms. Lowley and I would distribute it, 100 stablecoin to each volunteer, and then they would go out and spend it, and then we would track how it was being circulated to see if the technology did what we wanted. What we wanted was something that we could trace and something that was secure and robust enough that if someone were to trick a user into giving up their password, for example, and then steal their stablecoin, once the user reported that it was stolen, we could freeze that stablecoin wherever it was at, and then give the person new stablecoin because the fiat money was still in the bank. So it's not like their cash was stolen; it was the digital currency, and then we just replace it with new digital currency.
So, and XRP is part of this process?
So XRP is it's a type of cryptocurrency. Well, do you want to answer that one? Here's where the expert comes in.
Salamat Senator Basilius, but tell XRP is just a native token in Mora Ripple. Ela gidel los perta gidel stable coin aguk different from say gidel XRP. So XRP aguk ti anybody can buy XRP. Not anybody can buy PSC. So ngana kadalakol difference. But one of it is also that when you're transferring a PSC meranga, let's say Morocco, and they use XRP as the fees to transact like PSC Morocco. So it would be like that fees, but that fees like is less than 0.0010% of a penny.
Google lang alsum kadaus pe minta ludo almay magadaus pe ra compalir ker minta do and of course it ludo the centering ilmera pulur belaw e gidal mutrol tobadri has a fee.
Why say thing that fee the users won't ever see the fee. So how it works is that the user, let's say nga they receive a touch stablecoin. The purpose to tell financial payment system los del blockchain, that's just what it is. It's easier to transact without using any fees that we would see that would be significant to what we get.
Kamsulang wala kurateri atir katalgi bal confuse lukume setial tial environment ngaludo the printing o tabdir manager they track it and when mems kidrabulur wala magdaus pe. Now and then we have to return it back for them to mint it al sumutta. Tial process circles around. Back to the minter mengel why penthouse as a redeem how to deal in cash. So singer alela Ministry of Finance. If so, then makaral minta finance at taludo el dissolve for cash.
Yes, Senator. So one of the findings from that pilot was that the Ministry of Finance cannot do that in full production at scale. So it would have to go out for requests for, yes, we'd have to outsource.
So we outsource
yes,
the service out and people are doing it for the Republic of Palau, that's not the issue. The issue is this, for me is, those pera XRP, right? Now XRP, a market tira one coin for them is 56 cents or 65 cents. A concern na nga kabelaw ang usen ngulme ospe ringil $1. Right? Takaturan ringil apulur bela $1. Now, do we turn it back as $1 or do we turn it back at their base value?
So the 56 cents, Senator, that you mentioned, that's so the crypto trading aspect of XRP is different from what we're doing. So we're just interested in the blockchain technology. The XRP that is expended, that's absorbed by, it was absorbed by Ripple and it's going to be absorbed by the service provider. But it's a fraction of 56. That's if you want to buy XRP on an exchange, then you spend $1 and you will get 0.56 XRP. But it's separate from the stablecoin blockchain solution design that we were working with.
I'm still as a digital currency blockchain. Once you mint a coin or blockchain, it will never leave that blockchain. It has to go back to be dissolved. If it go back to be dissolved, they have to dissolve on a face value. Dahil sa value ringi rawan al belaw al sukuman chero-1 ang galo ulo block spend ringi yala porti ng chero-1 with a face value of 56 cents. Dahil sa dissolve ringi for $1. So ako ringi elang may kay kita elang ako mo questionable issue luasin. Tial transaction ngongil merbelaw makita mo merbelaw. If so kada bikik mula sa tangay kal technology mem to spe ay galututir kan, are we giving them opportunity to make more money out of madaduro clean mong it's a $1 value rather than 56 cents value?
I understand your question now, Senator. So the XRP is separate from the stablecoin. So where you have in the case of the pilot, we had $20,000 in the bank. Then we had 20,000 stablecoin available to mint. The 20,000 stablecoin that we were putting in circulation for the pilot had nothing to do with the XRP. The XRP is the cost of using the blockchain. So the service provider in the future, and during the pilot, it was Ripple, they were spending XRP. So every time, every transaction, every time we minted, every time we destroyed, every time someone spent, it was accumulating XRP cost for them, not for us. And so that's the same concept once we go to full production is the service provider. And it's no different than the banks, they have computer systems and software and stuff. They spend money on that, so that's their cost of doing business is in those different systems that they maintain and operate.
No, thank you for the explanation. I get it now. Sulang, Chairman.
Floor leader on the bill.
Sila che ti ako mal kamata so del tokora stable go hindi dasang ngungila ba will understanding to me kung understanding nga tial stable going is as you said, the payment system. It's a form of a payment system low speed digital technology. Me la sel dokuk to domesringil in comparison with like conventional payment system los pela, for example a checkbook or a credit card. Tial credit card, let's say a stable coin instead of a credit card. And say mo apply maluba kumara I buy this coin stable, I buy the stable coin and then put them in my digital wallet. Sige digital wallet tawal tiagid el credit card el sekal ngulmara vendor el acceptor sige el form of payment get vendor I give exchange, I give him a purchase with a coin and yamas ka tial physical product malawin services regularly. Engagi del al vendor ang usay gi del al stablecoin al ngul mora bank malawin mo claim ra redemption ngira whatever bank al process ay gi del cook type ra is that what it is? Sige na so mo make sure lang ako na siyang ngani sel ko al confusion gi na sig kada na sois brangot al tletelela payment egal transaction maybe ngani sel ko al de kada the clearing mong mol remida egal do de. Say, can you explain that in that kind of example of spare credit card malum in checkbook concept?
Thank you, Senator. Yes, so the way you explained it, that's pretty much exactly how it works. It's the same concept, just a different medium. So when you go to the store and you buy something with a credit card, you swipe your credit card, the electrons travel to the credit card company. The credit card company says, yes, he has enough credit limit. Go ahead and process the payment. And then the store at the end of the month or whenever they reconcile with the credit card company to get their money minus the 2 to 3% fee, whatever it is. So with the stablecoin, you go with your QR code as long as the place you're making your purchase at accepts stablecoin. You scan the QR code does the same thing, sends the electrons to the bank says, yes, this person's digital wallet has enough stablecoin, go ahead and process his transaction, and then at the end of so for the pilot, was it weekly? They were, the participating vendors were reconciling with the National Treasury weekly. So same concept, and then we use the same type of solution design to validate that they have enough money, this transaction is legitimate, go ahead and send it.
So in the process, based tagi del numerical phase 1 or tagi del pilot, will it benefit the people using the stable coin? And if the people will benefit from it, how will they benefit? Is it going to be less fees that they will pay or more efficiency? Kam wara sir yagi del wara. Amle findings sir kami malawang result tertial pilot.
So the results from the pilot program were very positive. We had, out of the 200 possible volunteers, we did have 168 participate. Of the 168 participants, 83 actually responded to the survey. They had a lot of their complaints were about the wallet. It was very clunky. It was slow. Like whenever you would try to process a transaction, the Wi-Fi and internet here, until we get the mobile core network replaced and improve the network, we're going to experience that latency with anywhere with Wi-Fi. So whereas if you go to other countries, sort of like South Korea or Tokyo, when you scan something, it's like 1 second your stuff's done. Here, it could take up to 30 seconds. But overall, they like the concept of not having to go to the bank and stand in line to get your money. You can access it electronically through your phone. The other positive aspects were the distance between people and organizations and buildings and the time it takes to transit. So, if you have an hour for lunch or 2 hours like Steve takes, no, I'm just kidding, it doesn't take that long. You're going to use a lot of that time, to go and run your errands and pay your bills, and you got to go to the bank and stand in line. Or you go to the ATM's out of money, or it's broken, then you have to wait. And so this was one of the benefits that they saw was the ability to do those types of transactions digitally. Once a mature ecosystem is set up and you have all your vendors and places where you need to make payments able to accept electronic currency. So one of the things was, we already have Alipay. A lot of people also say, well, I already have Alipay, or I have PayPal, or I have a credit card. What's the difference? So our argument is like, not everybody has a credit card. Not everybody wants to carry a balance and pay interest. Not a lot. If you don't have a bank account or you don't, carry a big balance in your bank account, you're probably not going to be able to get a credit card with a good credit limit. So a digital payment system, whether it's a stablecoin or whatever we want to call it, will provide a valuable service to people. Gas costs $7 a gallon here. So if you're driving from the Capitol building in Malagaok to all the way to the closest ATM, I think is that gas station. Oh no, well now they have WCTC out there, but it used to be the gas station. Or for other people, they had to drive all the way to the Shell station at the fork between the airport and Imalik. That was their closest ATM to get cash. So things of that nature were taken into account. So a lot of the Badak payments, sorry. The Badak payments, it's one person going around with an envelope collecting more envelopes and then writing down in a ledger and then uploading that into an Excel spreadsheet. So it's time consuming. This would provide a way that you designate who your collecting agent is, and everyone can just send the money digitally to that person. And then there's a ledger already available that's built, and it saves time and probably a lot of energy from having to do it the manual way.
I know others might still have questions, but I'm just going to raise this one more question. Understand the first sort of like exploratory or research phase 1 is completed. So basically phase 2, you're recommending that Palau get into the stablecoin, consider it as part of one of the payment mode of payment system. And if that's going to be something the OEK needs to pass the legislation to allow for something like that to happen. And if we're going to do that, will that mean that the government will have to source the actual backing of the stablecoin? Who's going to be providing that? And what is the feedback that you're getting from the vendors and also the banks that maybe will be cooperating with this kind of a project?
Thank you, Senator. Yes, if we go into a full production, it would have to be outsourced. So there's really two parts of it. It's the bank that holds the reserve money that's backing up the digital currency that's in circulation, and then it's the actual service provider that's going to do the day-to-day operation of answering questions about my wallet doesn't work, I forgot my PIN, my balance isn't right, that part of it, and then they also will provide the wallet, the digital wallet. The bank can hold the money in reserve just like any bank does. We're bank agnostic. The solution design is bank agnostic. But it does require a law. There's a draft bill that's in progress right now at the President's office. So at some point, I expect that bill to be submitted for consideration and feedback.
Senator Udim.
Sulang Chairman, sulang Mr. Che Anson akunda seng. Chairman ng blakata klase Che Anson na consider la sityang require legislation. Sulang Che Anson for considering to that lang split all birak lulaw lang ngani alumda sa sityang avoid ab initio. Agyomda ngani rumrat senda agir experimental experiment ang. Ma direct lo ay direct for the record as ali chat ma wicha ali pay ma wicha ta private. Mora kon ra kumbalin then dakal government mang. Agi direct lo nito as kumsulang amla kansi let yang agi private asum kumumring iba government. It should require a proper procurement process ma RFP ma for transparency sake. Sulang. Sulat Chairman.
Sulay, Senator Udim, I just want to follow up on that. Even one of our partners, International Monetary Fund, has also cautioned us, policymakers, that we need to have the legal and regulatory framework and compliance in place before we even delve into the world of financial technology. And I know your office at Fintech, you're tasked and mandated to try and diversify our economy. But I think this very subject of a stable coin, I think we went the other way around and put the cart before the horse. I think there should have been a conversation with the leadership, at the very least, Olvira Kalulaw, to figure out a framework before we initiate a pilot project of this magnitude, because you can see that there's a lot of issues regarding that, and I'll give you an opportunity to respond.
No, thank you, Senator and Senator Rhythm. No, I'm absolutely. My understanding was the intent was always to develop the legal framework for this payment system. So the history that I was given was that there was consideration before maybe 2020, 2021, or even earlier for some type of stablecoin or digital payment system for the government, but to the point, I think it was in the original digital residency bill, but that was taken out because, again, we didn't really understand what we'd be getting ourselves into. So the intent of the pilot was to do just that, like find out, is this right? Is it something that's good for us so that we can better understand it before we go too far and then implement a system that we have to roll back or it's going to start causing us a lot of problems. So yes, and we were able to identify a lot of those issues during the pilot and make recommendations of what it should look like if we do go forward with the law.
No, thanks for that, Senator Talams.
Sula Chairman, Sula Director ng lamim, 7 legal information kila stablecoin. Koradyo mi sa phase 1 report gom na turura risk management process mang malungil gom natiga effort merutya. We hope sil draft bilamim sa bila all will mutul mo so will mot mol so we can understand it and move forward. We have to take a risk at some point in time. Hindi nga kaswagal go back to digital residency program. Siguro amal na take off yung MIL project. Dik mo yung regulation el girel sel physical mailing address ma postal service. Nsakal mo understand that mga sel el service provider tayo el digital program. Within that seguido service provider mosab el lisa utma may gagidal utma street gagidal digital residency sabel assign and mo black sabel explain a seguidal concept.
Yes, Senator. No, and thank you for that question. So in developing the solution design for the mailing address, we saw that we don't have any mailboxes left. I think there was blocks, some maybe in the national capital, but then we don't have the resources to actually operate the mailing service in the capital, like another post office in effect. So the solution that we came up with was to designate land and then again like a digital overlay of grids, and each of those grid squares we could make a mailbox and assign to the digital resident, and then its tied to something physical is not just something that's intangible or that isn't. It had to be something that was physical in nature, like a actual PO box. My understanding from the postmaster, and we're taking a look at this more closely, is now that the U.S. Postal Service allows a digital PO box, will that satisfy the requirement of a mailing address for the purpose of mail forwarding? So that's why it's taking us a little bit longer to get this service online, because again, the technology changes. So every time something new comes out, we have to stop and see if if our original design is still viable. And so we're working on that now. One of the benefits we were looking at was kind of a dual use. So since there's no physical requirement to touch the land, we're trying to work with the states. If they have like watershed or conservation areas, if they'd be interested in leasing that land for the purpose of creating these physical mailing addresses, there would be benefits to the states as well, because they'll get money for land that would otherwise not be able to be developed. So there's no development involved. It's literally a digital overlay blocks, and then, okay, digital resident 1 has this block, 2, and so forth, and then you assign a address to it.
So I'm trying to understand that. In other words, if we're going to have 1 million DC2 residents, and we're going to need 1 million blocks of land to be leased is a physical mailbox. So, but you don't disturb the land. But you get
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
Senator.
Okay, silang eh.
When you look at it in a computer screen, it'll look like the floor in front of us with the little squares, but the land will never be touched or developed.
No, thanks for that information. Ngari nga, dito ka burning question, concern. Yeah. Okay, Senator Sungino has a follow-up question.
That's a really good concept. Can it goes on top of water, like water use rights?
Anywhere on the surface of the earth.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So let's say the pan-protected areas in each state, if you lay that grid on top of the PAN program, that can be an asset to the state. They can make money over their PAN site.
Yes, Senator.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sulang. So kumandigayang Mr. J. Anson, tiya edel sigang ngartiang, maral mlekat tengedel mit. Umaral ba to kay concern sir gidel kuk sab edel at least kadam la address di ko kumdas conversation needs to continue. Ikaw tiam lame mal acknowledge was there's a communication gap not just between you and us but within the entire network. So we need to bridge that gap. And I also, before I ask you to say your final thoughts and ask the President to close, I just want to say that, yeah, we're very keen on all these different technologies. And we want to be able to, participate in a digital economy. But we also need to be mindful of those risks that are accompanied with it. So that's why we're always very cautious about having a legal framework in place before we even consider some of these projects that we undertake. So with that, I would like to ask you to say your final words, and if any of your colleagues want to say something before we close our discussions this afternoon.
They decline. I'll just say on their behalf, they're very happy to be here, and it's very excited. They were looking forward to this more than I was. Thank you very much, Senator. Thank you very much to the committee and everyone here, all the senators. Really great questions. When I saw Senator Corte at the ceremony for the National Guard. I said, please bring your tough questions because it helps me and my staff grow as well. Because we want to bring the best programs that we can that's possible. So if there's something I say in the media, I need to be checked. Reel me back in and say, you can't say that, Jay. I like in the process of trying to sell the digital residency program, yeah, I'll take it probably to the edge. Please feel free. I ask you, please reel me back in so that I'm not compromising our country or our government or what we're trying to do, because that could have catastrophic second and third order effects. I'm not trying to go to jail or get in trouble or anything like that. I'm too old for that right now. We talked about I'll go in reverse order. So we talked about the stablecoin and what we were trying to accomplish with that. I have a better understanding of, as legislators, what your perspective is on that. And so for phase 2, and we'll have the report out shortly, we heard what you were saying during phase 1, during the pilot, and at the end of it. So we approached phase 2 from that perspective, from that viewpoint. Like, we need to know who has a dog in this fight before we, continue just trying to push forward. And I think we've identified that. So phase 2 was all about identifying who the key stakeholders are, what the caveats and concerns are, so that we can make sure it's addressed in the program, and not the program, but the draft bill that will be submitted. For the digital residency office, again, I tell the digital residents this all the time, we're working at the speed of government. And sometimes that goes fast, sometimes it's pretty slow. The concern, though, is we're being very cautious so that we don't get ahead of something that we have to roll back. For example, the immigration regulation. We thought the intent was, hey, we have this demand signal from digital nomads that want to maybe come to Palau and stay longer than 3 months to make it worth their while and fit their lifestyle. Not looking at it from the perspective of legislation that there's second and third order effects to that. So it's something that we're going to go back and relook. In reality, we have not had 1 million digital residents come to Palau and try to stay for 9 months, so maybe it's just not that appealing, but we were trying to do something to bolster the program and increase revenue. I mentioned some potential amendments to the act with the digital banking language that's in there and the name change. We're fairly certain after looking at it that we're not going to be able to provide that service. So there will be something coming. I'm looking for the process with the lawyers and stuff to get that to the Congress.
Jay,
Yes,
while
sir.
you're on the topic of digital residency, can you update the committee on whether we've gained residents or we've lost residents over the course of the since inception, and how much has been garnered?
So the law was passed December of 2021. We were up in an initial operating capacity in February of 2022. When I came on board in June of 2022, we had 1,400 digital residents. So part of that initial process was looking at, why are the numbers so low? We weren't using the vendor that we're using now. We're using the most cost-effective one, I'll put it that way. So what was happening was the digital residents would apply. They would try to upload their selfies and their government ID, and it kept getting rejected by the system, so they would give up and not re-engage. So we went with a higher quality vendor, and we saw the process start to improve. So from June until August, the numbers stayed pretty low. Once we switched vendors and had a better quality, onboarding process, the numbers started to go up more and more. Once we passed the physical mailing address service regulation and it was published and potential digital residents saw that, we saw a spike in applications. And then I've also been going with the service provider to different blockchain conferences. They have a booth that they set up to advertise and market the digital residency program, but it helps if they can point and say, there's a live Palauan, his country does exist, and this is a real program. Go and talk to him. So we're able to provide that marketing, and through that effort, we've seen an increase in digital residents. So we're currently at, again, we've received a total of 26,000, a little over 26,000 applications, and we've processed 23,700 of them. We're around 19,000 active digital residents. So of those 23,000 that we processed, around 5,000 of them did not renew the second time. Reason being, they're waiting for the ancillary services to become available. So we're working as fast as we can to get the mailing address available. There's a digital phone number solution design that we've worked out with PNCC, but we're having some problems adapting. The technology that we have in place currently is a little outdated to do what we need for, again, being that the digital residents don't come to Palau, they need a way to authenticate the PIN. They need a way for the PIN to be sent to them when they go to authenticate their accounts. And we don't have that capability currently. There's some testing and stuff going on, but it's going to start interfering with the mobile core network replacement, things of that nature. So I've been talking to Simon Fraser at PNCC, the president of PNCC, to see if there's other solutions that we can come up with. So the ancillary services are additional fees. For example, the physical mailing address, the National Treasury will get $100 for every physical mailing address. I think the service provider, they get, I think it's 50 so that they can provide the service and take care of their overhead. So with, for each digital resident application, we get $100 in the National Treasury. So for every 10,000 digital residents, that's $1 million that goes to the National Treasury and to the Republic of Palau. For every mailing address, it's another $100. So as the program continues to grow, this could be very good revenue-wise for the country. So we're again working to get those services online. Thank you. I think my last point, was just the overview of the cybersecurity ransomware attack. So again, just kudos, thank you to the Senate and the entire for approving that extra budget to do the cloud backup. Again, it's something that was researched, and we knew it was it was a more cost-effective option, but it was effective, and we asked that you continue this type of process and communication where you're looking at ways to improve the cybersecurity posture for Palau. We're on the right path, so we're here to help and advise and provide whatever information and cooperation that is necessary to do that. So thank you very much for everyone for your time. I look forward to answering questions in the future, coming back, email me, call me, anything. I'm happy to help and answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Sula Che, bukod ngitra President tra Senate tempolom ter kamame til asmeritel hearing arkit. President.
Sula Chairman Mr. J. Anson. I'm very proud of you. Akpo banggela chairman na ramang sauma by chairman na Senator Talams, material Senator Silngartel no sa pamal mitmage emit rakaw for the first time. We need the people in this government who are honest, diligent, and patient like you. I thank you for that. On behalf of all the senators, I thank you. This will not be the first and last time. You will be expecting us to call you back again. And we go through again the digital residency, cybersecurity, and stablecoin. We need this. Kadangara, we need technology and more technology. Egi uspera adal waikaul sibel ngoswirtel government ngosutrira adara bulur belau ngosugma mar senators mo understand aigel program matgol kita mo sois berngi el moklung yolirar adar belau mang akmal merenga sulem this opportunity to be with you this afternoon and you answer all the questions. There are tough questions. There are questions that are not tough, and there are questions that need to be understood. And you all answer all our questions. So on behalf of all the senators, I thank you for that and looking for another opportunity to meet you again, just to let the people of Palau understand what we are going through to help our people and the government of Palau. So I thank you on behalf of the senators. Thank you.